Hello and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca. It is time yet again for a monthly to be read list as we are looking forward to April. April, as usual, abounds with more readathons than are possible to participate in. And this is even a quiet month, I think, for readathons. So there are several I do want to participate in. So let's talk through that, as well as the fact that I am still very much attempting to read as much as I can in sci-fi and fantasy releases from 2020 as we are heading toward the Worldcon/Hugo Awards nomination deadline at the end of April. So I'm going to be trying to cram in as many of those as possible. So let's start with the readathons. First up is the Picture This readathon. For all of these readathons, I'm not really worrying about prompts. I'm attempting to get into the spirit of the readathon and just do my own thing as I best can. So first one, Picture This. I have been attempting to learn Japanese. So I have a couple of Japanese books here. So these are children's books in hiragana. The first two are, which is a phonetic character system for Japanese. There's also kanji, which is a lot more complicated, but hiragana is kind of where kids start with reading. So I basically just picked the first two that looked cute and I could tell were entirely in hiragana. So I will not be reading these for content. I can't actually read very many words so far. I know about 100 words and that's it. So I will be primarily trying to sound these out. So this one is Zou, no, I think, so Zou I know is elephant already, so there's our elephant, and no I think is Fu Sen Yasan, Fusenya-san, so Zou no Fusenya-san, so I think that's elephant is something, don't know what, and this one is Tora Neko, Neko is cat, San, Oh, Hi, Na Sai. Oh, Haina Sai. I don't know, but I know elephant and cat, so that's a pretty solid start at least. So those two will be read for sounding out and recognizing the characters. These two are English books on Japanese. So the first one is my first book of Japanese words, an ABC rhyming book of Japanese language and culture by Michelle Haney Brown and illustrated by Aya Padrone. So that one is just individual words. And this one is Japanese phrases. So my first Japanese phrases, written by Jill Cowles and illustrated by Daniel Fabry. So both of those look good. I think those were the only real English language books they had in the regular section, but there is a massive Japanese section. So I can definitely do that. And I did look, there are plenty of Japanese language books in English for adults. These were just the only two kids' books. So we'll try those out for Picture This. Then the Transgirlapril readathon is the next one I want to participate in. That's being put on by Willow from Books and Bow and Kevy from Say Kevy, who are two of my favorite tubers. I watch all their videos. They are wonderful delights to the booktube community. And this one has an important first prompt, and that is to denounce fascism and declare your support for trans individuals. And I, of course, am anti-fascism. The efforts in the US to suppress trans identities and LGBTQ identities in general are, in fact, fascistic, and they are anti-freedom. So I am for freedom, specifically the freedom of individuals to make choices about their own bodies. And so I am absolutely declaring my support for trans identities and individuals. So for this readathon, I know there were some efforts around donating money for the trans rights readathon. Same deal here. I personally do have a monthly support for the ACLU because not just LGBTQ rights, but rights in general is their focus. And continuing to fight the legal battles that are necessary for that, specifically for women's and trans identities, has been massive in the past couple of years. So it's very important to support them. So I will be trying to support them with a weekly rather than a monthly donation in the same amount. So I think that's going to hopefully come down to one book per week. So we'll say a donation for each book, assuming I finish these all. But first, I want to read Vivek Shreya's latest release. Apologies, the sun has decided to come out. People Change by Vivek Shreya. So Vivek Shreya, I love this photo on the back here, is a dynamic individual in Canada, so involved in so many things. I loved reading the author bio because we think of Shreya as an author, writer, who is popular for the subtweet in fiction, or I'm Afraid of Men, I think, in nonfiction. And she also is involved in so many other things. Shreya is a 7-time Lambda Literary Award finalist. She's been a brand ambassador for MAC Cosmetics and Pantene, and is a director on the board of the Tegan and Sarah Foundation, and an assistant professor of creative writing. So she's really an immense powerhouse of a person. So I'm very interested in this little, I think it's just an essay on the topic of people changing, and that we are going through transitions as individuals all through our lives. So very, very interested in that one. Then I have one I want to reread. That's Peter Darling by Austin Chant. And this is a trans man Peter Pan retelling hate to love romance with Captain Hook. And I just love it. It's a little dark. It's definitely on the darker romance side, but I have enjoyed this very much in the past, and I want to reread it. Then I have The City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jane Anders. So Charlie Jane and her partner Annalee Newitz are just powerhouses in the sci-fi and fantasy world. They ran IO9 as kind of this, I don't know, it's a sort of a STEM technology magazine focused, and this is, I believe, either a far future or another planet where it's only habitable in a small strip because the rest of the world, the majority of the planet, is covered in darkness all the time. So I think that's why there's a city in the middle of the night, and it's cold and dark everywhere. So yeah, I'm going in kind of blind, but I am very much looking forward to this one because I have really enjoyed the previous release from this author, All the Birds in the Sky. And she since has a couple of other new, both fiction and a nonfiction essay collection, I think, out that I would love to get to. So very excited for that one. And finally, for the Transgirlapril readathon is the memoir of Laura Jane Grace, who is the lead singer, kind of founder of Against Me, the band. And she transitioned as someone who was already famous. And so that was a really interesting and unique sort of situation to go through. So I think this is going to have a lot of insights into that experience. So I'm really interested and have wanted to read this for quite a few years. So that's it for Transgirlapril reading. Next, I have my buddy reads before we get to the end of the pile here. First, I have an advanced copy of The Thick and the Lean by Hannah Porter. And that one, I don't know if it has a trans element. I know Porter's previous book, The Seat, did have a prominent main character who was trans. This one does have a major element of, I think, sex and sexuality, but I don't know if it has a trans element. So it may or may not carry into Transgirlapril. But regardless, I'm buddy reading this with Kristen L., SFF reader, and this one is a dystopian where I think through some religious rules, something like a theocracy, this dystopia has sprung up where sexual pleasure is completely normalized and not a big deal, something like just completely public, normal, but food-related pleasure is extremely taboo. You are not supposed to enjoy or delight in tasting your food in any way. So I think it's going to have a lot to say about those two aspects. I do know, I've heard a lot that this obviously has a lot of triggers for eating disorder and that sort of thing, but I think it's going to have a ton of smart commentary. So looking forward to that one in my buddy read. And then, second buddy read is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. So I know this is a fantasy, and that's about it. I have not looked at the synopsis. I did look inside to check chapters and stuff, and it has some weird formatting, possibly. We will see. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I loved Simon Jimenez's Vanished Birds, and so this is one I definitely needed to get to for potential award voting, because I am hopeful this will be as good as Vanished Birds. We shall see. And finally, nothing except for my own pleasure, is The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. So I'm picking this up because I do want to try and get it in before award voting. This has been incredibly underread, I think. Very few people I know have actually picked it up. As you can see, it's shiny, and this is actually a really gorgeous copy. I don't know if it's going to come through, but I was not expecting this to be so pretty. But it's got like a lovely shiny there, and then I'm guessing those are like tails or something. I don't know. So we will see. But again, I'm going in fairly blind to this. All I know about it so far is that it's about octopuses and they're basically aliens in the sea, potentially. So it is sci-fi to some degree. We will see how separated from reality the octopuses are. So I'm really looking forward to this though, because I did read some of Ray Naylor's short fiction in deciding whether I wanted to buy this and really, really loved it. So very excited yet again for this one. So that is my massive pile for all the readathons and my own personal enjoyment for the month of April. The reality of whether I can get through this is dubious, but we will certainly try, as we always do. So that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching.